So when I was at the conservatory, I studied music theory and composition, and then from my early childhood on, I once in a while I wrote down some music as for myself as a composer. I didn't finish my studies as composer at the conservatory, but I thought, okay, I should write it down, because in my whole career I played a lot, I improvised also a lot, and one of the most beautiful things is when meeting new people, you sit down at the piano and you start improvising. And for instance, with a friend of mine from Canada, Marcel Bergman, when we see each other, we sit down at the piano and we improvise, and we tell each other stories without telling the stories, but we tell it by just playing for each other what we have heard. So bits and snaps of concerts we attended, and then the other one has to guess, oh, you mean this kind of stuff. And improvisation is always been a great part of musicianship, and I generally think that the last 20-30 years, the whole aspect of improvisation is being neglected. On the conservatories there's hardly any improvisation, no time. Well, if you go back in history, if you look at Bach and Mozart and Haydn, I mean, they improvised a lot. They played their own cadences. They improvised it on the spot sometimes, and a lot of them of their improvisation they later on wrote down on music and put down as a composition. So the area between improvisation and composition is a very interesting one. Where does one stop and where does one starts? Where does one ends and where the other begins? It's intertwined, I must say. It's one a process that is almost undeniable, especially for my music. My music always has to be sensible. It's in the fingers. I have to play everything. I have to feel everything. It's the touching. For instance, when I came up with the idea of doing something with Dies Irae, I wanted to put it in a different way. So I changed the order of the notes. I used a technique based by Liszt, the three-hand techniques, based on the thumb is playing the melody, so I have the other hands free to play something else. So I came up with this Rachmaninoff-like left hand and the right hand. This is like this white. This is not really minimalistic. Well, the minimalistic thing is that the idea is this is it. This is basically the composition. But the idea is a combination of various techniques from history, and of course, when you are a composer, you're always influenced by everything you heard all your life. So I heard a lot of pop music, and so a lot of pop music is involved in my music as a composer. But also a lot of minimal music and minimalistic elements. The piece I started with is a minimal prelude number 18. I think maybe the most played, is even on the record now. It's a 7/8 bar. It's, you know, it's this enchanting melody that looks. It sounds a little bit like Philip Glass, but it's not the 3 against 2. You know, it stays about the same. It's a very flat, maybe like the Netherlands, flat-like
terrain.
Yeah, landscape. I'm trying to describe, and then on the other hand, I use, the score is called Lego music. It's like Lego the play, with little bricks, and the piece is made of different bricks, and you can put it in any order, and the result will every time be same. There will be different. For instance, the beginning can be like opening, like a chant. Or it could begin right away with introducing the left foot. And there's only one thing where I think you can hear the influence of Simeon and Holt in my music, is that I like a lot the thumb crossing. This is what I really like in composition, when it goes to where the thumbs cross each other, or this kind of the stretched left hand over the right hand, with a little dissonant in the middle, hidden in the middle, somewhere like. It could be a Ravellian or more like Debussy, but I like the setting, the feeling, and that's something I really that's really typical. That's maybe an influence the thumb. It's not as much the sound of Simeon that I really that influenced me, but it's more the feeling of the thumbs crossing each other. Because if you play the count, careful, look at my thumbs. You see, it's always this thumb balancing between the same keys.
So you feel the two hands are the sounds are interlocking with each other.
Interlocking and intertwined, and
yes.
they're like it's one body.
Yes, yes.
You know, it's like you feel it's one instrument, and that's maybe the same feeling I have when I'm working with my own composition, and that it's the unity of sound and of the whole body, and that's something. And on the other hand, I really like to experience with the behavior of sound and manipulation of sound. For instance, my last 4 elements, they are all with a sound processor. You can't play it as a piano piece alone. It's just a one note, or just one chord. It needs the processor to make the composition. It's without it really it's always supported. You always need it to make the music. Or on the other hand, in my composition NLXL, which is based on a book by Karel Tomei, it's the photography book, aerial photographs of the Netherlands from above, so taken from a helicopter, and I put all the images on music in a new order and made my own story. And the composition is a multi-layering composition. So you really you have multi-layers and multi-rhythms, cross rhythms, all together in one composition, and everything is connected to the images. And every second is connected. So it's really one piece of art. It's the combination of the images in combination with the music. So it's a different perspective. And just lately, an interviewer said, okay, the composition by Jeroen Van Veen are really outstandingly perfect to use for a DJ to reach out to a modern audience, because it is something of this time, of nowadays, but still it has the beat. The beat is never gone. It's always rhythmical, and it could easily be used to attract even a more younger audience than minimalism already does. Which brings me to a very important key point of minimalism. I really strongly believe, as a musician, as a composer, that minimalism does something what classical music hasn't done in almost 100 years from now, which is reconnecting to a younger audience, to a newer audience. If you listen to music by Philip Glass, but also Ludovico Einaudi, and Simeon van Holt, this kind of music you don't need any effort to understand it. You don't need to get into it. You don't need to listen to it for 100 times. The first time you feel attached, you think, "Oh wow, this is great," and you want to share it with your friends. And that's the ultimate, for me, the ultimate goal, to increase the audience for classical music and to attend classical concerts again, and to realize, to experience the feeling of whether you lie down or sit down, doesn't matter to me, as long as you go to concerts. Because if I go to a regular classical concert, I think, you know, in 25 years from now there won't be any concert anymore if we go on like this. And the only thing, the only improvement, and I sensed it a few times 10 years ago, I said it already, that this is the music for the future, the minimalist music. And this is A, and Y, that's B. I think the last 15 years, if you look at the digital revolution, how fast everything goes, how fast our environment is developed and evolved, there is a massive need to going back to the essence. And if you listen to this kind of music, or you listen to this kind of music, or you listen to this kind of music, there's one thing in common. It's beautiful from the beginning. There's space, there's time for your brain, for your head, to leave room to think, to create, and people like to use this kind of music to create. I know a lot of writers, they play minimal music all day long. Why? Because it gives them room for development, something to evolve. And many young audience, a big young audience is really feeling attracted to this kind of music. That's why all the concerts by Ludovic Einaudi are sold out. If Philip Glass comes in Europe, it's almost always sold out. Steve Reich, and so on. Simeon ten Holt in Netherlands, it's unbelievable. The madness. People are waiting outside in the line to get in. Please give me a ticket. I want to get in. There's a movie about Simeon ten Holt, about Canto Ostinato, what it does to people. People change their lives. I personally, one memory, a guy came to a concert from Australia. He visited the concert. He said, "This is my big dream, I want to be here." And so he took the trip, visited us, went to the concert, went home to Australia and killed himself, committed suicide. In his letter, he left for the family. He said, "I experienced the canto. It was an experience. This was something I would never achieve." It's, you know, still when I think about it, it's giving me shivers. But that's what the music does to people, and that's what really matters. That it's not this music, okay, this muzak kind of music, but it's the music that really brings you to a different level and takes you to a more understanding of of balance and really, so to speak. If we go back to this where I started with, this music by Pert and Glass, music that really open your brains and use your brain in the best way in the music to get a better human being. And I think that's where we, as musicians,
that's what music should do. That's what music always
always
should have done, and has done, and
is neglected for a long time.
This is a new, fresh shoot of truth coming through music.
I think so. I recently read an interesting book about what dissonance does. If you play this kind of, you know, not really difficult, but this kind of, it really puts our brain to flight mode. We want to get away. Instead of, if we hear a consonant, then we feel comfort. We feel at ease. But if we hear dissonant notes, and especially many dissonant notes in a row, there is no structure anymore, and we feel lost. And we feel lost already every day in our internet communication world, where nobody knows exactly where we are heading to. People are losing their jobs all the time. You know, big companies they put out so many people, and this kind of music, this minimalist music, this easy music. Some people say it's easy listening music. I wouldn't say that, but it's this kind of music that gives comfort to people in a gap that is being created by society, and that's where music can have a positive energy and flow for human beings, I think. That's
good. It's good. Good conclusion and a good.
Yeah, that's my personal.
A good perspective.
Yeah, that's how I feel. That the music has an answer to society, like it always had been.
Yes, but we perhaps needed to dip into the truth of it more now, because life is evolving so quickly, and changing so quickly.
And it's
we needed to find a deeper root, perhaps.
Of course, and with all the processes, it's always minimalism would never have been there without the whole history. I mean, you can't see it separate from each other. It's an answer. And maybe we don't know what will come, what will show up in the next decades from now. But at least I see this is I mean, a couple of years ago there was only, if you go to a regular concert series, there was one concert with a kind of minimal music. Now, for instance, if I look around me, I see all the great series. They have a minimal series, because that's the only one where you can attract a full house and get a new audience and pull the audience towards Rachmaninoff and Shostakovich and Bruckner and Mahler, because otherwise they will never go into it. And I know from a couple students, they never went to classical concerts, they went to the minimal music concerts, and now they are, Jeroen, did you hear Mahler 5? It's so beautiful.
It's a doorway to them, yes.
Yeah, it's a doorway, and you use it. But if you just push them into the concert hall, they will go out before the intermission and say, well, this is not for me,
Different language.
It's different language, but you have to get into it. And this is a bridge how we can make classical music more attractive, I think.